Well, new data was released today on how many people are homeless in Clark County. The numbers come from Council for the Homeless. That's the lead agency overseeing the crisis there. The data shows that last year, more than 8,200 people were homeless at any given time. More than half are people who identified as being newly homeless. And while the numbers did not change much between 2024 and 2025, one number that stands out: more than 2,300 homeless children under the age of 18.
What we're seeing with that number is there's more and more families that are experiencing homelessness than ever. Affordability is the issue. They're being priced out. We know over 2025 we saw an increase in basic needs. So transportation costs more, housing costs more, childcare costs more. And so for those families that are barely making minimum wage, if not just a little bit more, they're not going to be able to keep up with the increased cost of housing. So they're being priced out.
The data gathered from nearly 50 service providers backs up that claim, with affordability topping the list. Domestic violence is not far behind. And it's worth noting, these numbers are not complete. They represent about 70% of people who gave this info to service providers. But hey, nonetheless, especially when it comes to affordability, it is a story that is all too familiar, whether in Clark County or here in the Portland Metro. And those behind the study also noted that the new data comes from the first year without COVID-era funding helping out, which mostly affected rental assistance.
What has changed is that when people need rental assistance, the dollars aren't there. And so if people are running, behind on a month or two of rent, and they contact us, more than likely, we're going to tell them that the dollars are not there.
Okay, another big takeaway is a sort of myth that persists in Southwest Washington that many of the homeless people there came from Portland. Well, the data shows it's just not true. When people access services in Clark County, they're asked where they were last housed before becoming homeless. And as you can see here, nearly 90% are from Washington State, with just 6% coming from Oregon, and only half of those people coming from the metro counties of Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas.
And what we're seeing is what we have here as far as homelessness in our community is rooted here in our community. These are our people. These are people from Clark County, Washington. These are people throughout Washington State. People tend to stay in the area that they've lived in. People don't really move from Oregon to Washington State and Washington State over to Oregon. That's just not something we have. People have built community within certain places, and they tend to stay within that because they have services. They actually do have friends and family that they care about, that they want to stay close to.
Okay, if you want to look deeper into the report, we'll have a link over on KGW.com.